Is Obamacare about to be hit with a major blow? A federal judge ruling today to allow a lawsuit challenging the Obamacare penalties to go forward. With more on this, Seth Berensweig, a business law attorney. Seth, thanks for joining us. This is kind of a complicated case, and it turns on the legality of these subsidies. What is at issue here?
Well, what's at issue here is an issue that appears to be a little bit complicated, but we'll boil it down. The Justice Department suffered a huge defeat today when a federal judge in the D.C. court here in Washington rejected the government's motion to dismiss a challenge by several individuals and employers alleging that a key regulation by the Internal Revenue Service that is basically a funding switch may be illegal. Although the judge declined to apply an immediate injunction, he allowed the case to not only go forward, but he entered an order saying that it will be sped up, it will be expedited. So not only is this case allowed to survive, but it will be finished by February 15th. It's a major development here in Washington today.
Now, what I found interesting about this, it turns on the law itself, because apparently the law itself says the exchange has to be set up by the state, and as we know,
right,
a lot of states didn't want to do that, and they relied on the federal government to do it for them. So,
right,
ergo, these folks say what? That it's illegal. The whole thing's illegal.
That's right. You've identified the exact hook that the plaintiffs are digging into. They're challenging a rule by the Internal Revenue Service that applies a subsidy hook to drag in individuals and employers through all states, all of the states, although the statute, the Affordable Care Act, only provides for that subsidy trigger to go off for states in which it is a state-developed and operated insurance exchange.
Right.
So the IRS is coming in and they're applying a rule that the plaintiffs say does not follow the statute because the statute doesn't say that. And therefore, if the plaintiffs win, and I think that they could, you can think of a three-dimensional grid of the United States. If they win on February 15th, you can view two-thirds of the states which don't have state-operated exchanges to drop out of Obamacare. So it is a huge development.
Wow. So it could be that half the country has Obamacare and the other half does not. Here's what I don't understand, Seth, that what mystifies me. This is just a federal judge. This isn't the Supreme Court. Didn't the Supreme Court say Obamacare is legal?
Yes, and that's a great point. However, that was an attack on the Affordable Care Act itself. This is a flank, a side attack of a regulation that the Internal Revenue Service is trying to plug into the Affordable Care Act engine that is basically the funding switch. If they can successfully do that, this could be a lethal attack on Obamacare. This was something that really is a huge story. It sounds a little bit dry at first blush, but when you look at the effect of it, this could defund and explode Obamacare, and we're going to have an expedited ruling by February 15. So it is a really big development, and it is a real setback for the Justice Department.
Well, were you surprised that the judge said that he was going to hear this thing and try to get an answer by the 15th of February? I mean, was that a shocker to you? You're an expert on this.
Yeah, it is surprising. When you look at it from a litigation standpoint, these cases usually take a year or two. In this instance, the judge said that he was going to basically expedite this within a 4-month time frame. So that is surprising. That's very expedited. I was also surprised by the critical nature of the ruling. The Justice Department tried to dismiss this, saying that the plaintiffs had no standing. The judge literally called their argument, quote, silly, and then expedited the case. So this is a big development, and this really turns on a dime. This is, along with a companion case in an Oklahoma District Court, which is the same, but the D.C. court's going to take the lead. So all of a sudden, you have this latent defect in the law that could blow everything up within just a couple of months.
Well, Seth, you're going to have to help us keep an eye on this. Thanks for helping us out tonight.